The courtyard of Ridgewood Elementary is drowning in the usual noise of recess, bells ringing, doors slamming, laughter, kids running everywhere. But in the middle of that bright, familiar chaos, a sound suddenly slices through the rhythm. A taut leash slips out of Sergeant Miller's hand. And before anyone can register what's happening, the canine dog Ray bolts forward like he's been hit by a surge of instinct so sharp it makes his fur stand on end. Parents and teachers turn around. Someone yells stop, others just freeze in confusion. Nobody understands why a perfectly trained service dog is following instinct instead of command. And in that moment, one question hangs in the air like smoke after an explosion. What did Ray see in the schoolyard that made him break free? 30 seconds stretch into a heavy silence as Ray races toward the school's old building, the one that's been shut down for repairs for ages, still holding on to its rusted sign that says Art Department. Miller exchanges a quick glance with Officer Lauren Carter, and they sprint after the dog. In the distance, a kid's voice drifts through the noise. Is he looking for Michael? And Miller feels his chest tighten. Michael Turner, the 8-year-old boy who vanished 2 weeks ago. The search never stopped, but every lead turned into a dead end. Until now, and until Ray. Ray skids to the old building's door, presses his nose into the cracks, scratching, whining, digging, growling, everything at once. This isn't a signal. This is desperation. This is a discovery. Miller throws Carter a look. He's in there. Not confirmed. Not proven. Not certain. But Ray's urgency speaks louder than logic. And both officers feel the first wave of adrenaline, the kind that usually marks the moment everything changes. The door is locked. Old hinges, rusted chain, a heavy padlock that hasn't been touched in years. Carter pulls at it, useless. Miller clenches his teeth, grabs a crowbar from the patrol car, and rushes back, feeling Ray's burning stare saying, "Hurry." One strike. Then another. A third. The padlock snaps, the chain crashes to the floor with a metallic groan that echoes through the empty hallway. Ray bursts inside, a blur of motion moving faster than the beam of any flashlight. The corridor smells of dampness, mold, and something else, faint but unsettling. A scent Ray picks up instantly while humans feel it only as nerves tightening beneath the skin. And for the first time in a long while, Miller knows he has to trust the dog more than his own instincts. Ray pulls them toward the stairs leading down, into the basement, a place nobody's entered in years. Each step creaks as if the school itself is whispering, "Turn back." But Ray doesn't slow. The basement greets them with the dripping of water. Their flashlights reveal old mousetraps, broken easels, boxes of paints. Ray walks past all of it like it's nothing, because for him, it is. He stops at a metal door with a keypad lock. New. Clean. Modern. Completely wrong for a place like this. Carter murmurs, "Someone's been here." Miller feels his pulse in his temples. If someone's used this room recently, they're in the right place. But who? And why? And more importantly, why is Ray certain it's connected to the missing boy? Ray scratches at the door, growling, body tense, tail stiff, ears forward. He's in search mode. In protection mode. In the mode that means, open this. Now. Miller inhales and says quietly, "Ray never reacts like this unless someone's inside." Carter nods. No words needed, they've worked together long enough to understand each other in silence. Miller tries calling for backup, but the basement kills the signal, the phone shows 0 bars. That means only one thing, the first people to find out what's behind that door will be Miller, Carter, and Ray. Carter pulls out a lock-picking kit. The silence grows heavy, pressing, suffocating. Then a faint sound breaks through. Barely there. Like someone shifting on the other side. Or, someone quietly crying. Ray freezes. Lifts his head. He heard it first. And his reaction says everything, not just someone. Someone small. A crack forms in Miller's chest. Please be Michael. He shouldn't hope, hope clouds judgment. But Ray is his hope. And Ray brought them here. A click. The lock gives. The door opens a few inches, and from the darkness comes a smell thick and unmistakably familiar, fear. Heavy, sticky, childlike. Ray nudges the door open gently, as if afraid to scare whoever's inside. The room is tiny. Narrow. More like a storage closet than anything else. Their flashlights pick out an old mattress, a child's water bottle, and a bundle of blankets in the corner. And from that bundle, Two huge, tear-glossed eyes stare back at them. A boy. Small. Malnourished. Terrified. And the first word he whispers isn't help. Isn't please. It's, don't let him come back. Carter kneels. Sweetheart, who are you talking about? But the boy hides his head and sobs. The teacher, he said he'd come back, he told me not to scream. Miller's throat goes dry. A teacher. Who? Which one? What name? And then, another blow to the stomach. The boy isn't Michael. He's another child. Another missing kid? Or one no one even knew about? Ray approaches gently, lies beside him, rests his head on the boy's knees, a gesture canine dogs use only when they know a child is the victim. The boy strokes Ray's neck through sobs. He kept the other boy too, the one on the news, and Miller knows he means Michael Turner. This isn't just a discovery. It's a breakthrough. A key. The beginning of the end of a long chain of secrets. Carter looks at Miller. If Michael was here, where is he now? The question hangs in the air like winter breath, still, cold, unbearable. Ray suddenly lifts his head. His ears perk. His whole body tightens. He hears something humans don't notice yet. From upstairs, a step. Then another. Then a third. Heavy. Slow. Intentional. Carter kills her flashlight. Miller shields the boy behind him. Ray freezes, a living radar. And all three of them understand instantly, whoever is up there, is coming back. The footsteps draw closer. The basement becomes a trap. Any sound could expose them. The boy whispers, "It's him, it's the teacher," and the tremble in his voice is the most terrifying evidence so far. Miller raises a hand, signaling Ray, "Stay alert." The dog rises silently, tail low, ears sharp, the posture of perfect, deadly focus. A silhouette appears at the top of the stairs. Miller's flashlight is off, so they remain hidden. But the figure doesn't rush. He just stands there. Listening. Breathing. Carter reaches for her radio, zero signal again. They're cut off. It's 3 against the man who kept children here. Another step. Another. He descends slowly, too slowly, like he's savoring the moment. Or checking whether he's alone. Ray growls under his breath. A warning. A message, "I know who you are. And I'm not afraid." The boy whispers, he always moves quietly, so nobody hears, and Miller realizes, this man knows how to disappear. How to hide children. The figure becomes clearer. A man. Tall. Narrow shoulders. Uneven gait. And when he raises his flashlight, the beam glides across the walls, nearly touching their hiding place. Carter holds her breath. Miller grips his gun. Ray's muscles coil like steel cables, waiting for one single word. The man's flashlight stops on the broken door. A low, irritated growl slips from his throat. Who opened this? The voice of a teacher. The voice the boy would recognize anywhere. Miller knows, this is the moment of truth. They can take him down. Or he can find them first. And then Ray does something Miller never expected. He leaps into the hallway, not to attack, but to draw attention away from the child, the officers, the room. The teacher spins toward the sound, and something glints in his hand. A knife? A tool? Something metallic. He steps toward Ray. Miller rushes out, "Police. Drop it." His voice is so sharp even the echo recoils. Carter shields the child. But the teacher doesn't drop the weapon. He smiles, crooked, haunted, like his mind broke a long time ago. "You shouldn't be here," he says, slow and calm. Ray growls, a deep, vibrating threat. He knows this is more than a criminal, this is someone who hurt children. And Ray answers that challenge with everything he is. Miller steps closer, aiming at the man's hands. Carter stays ready behind him. The boy sobs into his palms. And the world seems to stop for a breathless moment. Because right now, everything hangs on what happens next, whether they'll find Michael, or whether they're already too late. The teacher takes another step down the staircase, slow, deliberate, as if he doesn't even register the armed officers in front of him. He looks at Ray the way someone might look at an obstacle, not a threat. And that alone tells Miller his mind isn't anywhere near reality. Miller keeps his gun steady, his gaze sharp as a blade. But something about the teacher's calmness unnerves him, no fear, no panic, as if the man knew this moment would come. As if he'd been waiting for them. Ray stands between them, body lowered, eyes wide and unblinking. His stare sends a silent warning, take even one more step. The teacher tilts his head and says, "The boy talked, didn't he?" His voice carries no emotion, only irritated surprise, like a child surviving was nothing more than a flaw in his plan. Carter shifts half a step back, shielding the boy behind her. She barely whispers, "We need backup now." But her phone shows no signal again. This basement feels designed to smother everything good and amplify everything bad. Miller moves forward. "Drop the weapon." Each word hits like a strike. No compromise. But the teacher simply lifts his hand higher, and in the dim cone of the flashlight they finally see it, a knife. Small, folding, sharpened to a mirror sheen. Ray growls louder. Every muscle down his spine is tight. This is the moment when dogs don't think, they feel. And Ray feels danger in ways no human ever could. The teacher smirks. Michael didn't scream either, at first. The words fall into the silence like stones, heavy, cold, murderous. Miller feels his blood freeze. He forces down the tremor of rage, because right now he needs pure steel focus. "Where is Michael Turner?" he asks quietly, controlled, but every syllable is pulled taut. The teacher doesn't answer. He savors the moment, the sense of control. The basement itself seems to tighten around them, the air dense as smoke. Carter notices the rescued boy trembling so hard his teeth chatter. But his eyes stay fixed on the teacher, as if he's looking at a nightmare that has finally stepped into daylight. The teacher jerks forward slightly, a hint of a step. Ray launches instantly, but Miller reacts quicker. The gunshot cracks, tearing through the basement with a deafening echo. The bullet slams into the wall beside the teacher. He flinches but doesn't fall. The sound seems to snap him out of his trance, and he spins around, trying to flee up the stairs. Ray bolts after him without hesitation. Carter shouts, "Ray, stop!" But it's too late. He's too fast, too focused, too determined to catch the man who hurt children. Miller charges up the staircase, Carter right behind him. The boy stays below, crying and calling for Ray, terrified the dog might disappear too. The stairs rattle under their feet, every step creaking. Near the door that leads up, Miller sees a shadow. Ray has cornered the teacher. But the man manages to slip through and slam the heavy door shut right in the dog's face. Ray crashes into the door so hard it vibrates. He scratches, barks, growls, the sound packed with fury and fear. Miller tries the handle, locked from the inside. He hears the teacher's footsteps moving away through the old corridor. "He's getting away," Carter hisses. Miller closes his eyes for a brief heartbeat, making a decision. Then sharply commands, "Ray, track!" And Ray explodes forward, darting to a narrow side passage they barely noticed before. The passage is cramped, dark, coated in cobwebs. It reeks of mold and old paint. Ray ignores all of it. He shoots forward, nose glued to the trail. The corridor spills them out near another door, one leading into the old gym. It smells damp, but the floor carries fresh tracks. Footprints, large men's boots. And Ray darts straight toward the opposite exit without being told. The gym is empty. The silence is thick enough to swallow every sound. But Ray hears what they cannot. He stiffens. Ears high. Then takes off again, toward the side exit leading out into the yard where everything began. The door isn't fully kicked open, but someone clearly forced it. The lock is bent. One hinge broken. The teacher passed here. Miller exchanges a look with Carter. He's heading outside. He knows this place better than we do. Which means every corner could be a trap. Outside, wind, rustling leaves, distant voices of children already being evacuated. But Ray runs not toward the noise. He veers right, toward the back of the old building. There, by the loading platform and a row of dumpsters, sits an old grated ventilation shaft. Ray stops in front of it, inhaling so deeply it's as though he's trying to pull the truth straight out of the air. Miller comes closer. "He went in there?" The shaft is narrow, rusty, but a person could crawl through, especially someone who knows the layout. Carter frowns. "But where does it lead?" Miller answers quietly, "Back to the basement, but on the opposite side." If the teacher knew every path, he could slip away as easily as he entered. Ray growls at the opening. He can't fit. He knows it. His anger twists into frantic worry, he's losing the advantage. Miller lifts the grate, it moves too easily, as if recently used. Dust smeared. Distinct hand marks. Carter steps back. He ran because he thinks Michael is still alive. Miller answers low, steady, he ran because he didn't finish what he started. At that moment Ray snaps his head to the side and barks toward the tree line behind the school. Not a warning, a confirmation, the teacher emerged from the far end of the shaft. Miller breaks into a sprint. Carter a step behind. Ray ahead, a shadow moving faster than human legs or thoughts. The trees are dense, dark, branches hanging low. The ground soft, perfect for preserving tracks. Ray picks them up instantly, as if they've been painted bright red. They run for a minute. Then another. Hearts pounding like war drums. The air shattering into cold shards, because every second pulls them closer to an ending they fear. Suddenly Ray stops so abruptly Miller nearly collides with him. The dog stands frozen, chest heaving, ears locked forward. Ahead, an old forest ranger's cabin. Long abandoned, swallowed by moss and leaves. But the door hangs slightly open. Carter whispers, "No way he got here this fast," but Ray growls. "So yes. Someone is inside." Miller raises a hand to stop Carter. "We go slow. No mistakes." But he knows Ray won't let them go slow. They move closer. The ground around the door is covered in footprints. One small, light. A child's. Another heavy, adult. "Michael?" Miller breathes, a storm brewing inside him. Let it be him. Let him be alive. Ray nudges the door and slips inside, freezing where a beam of light cuts through a hole in the roof. The cabin is empty, almost. Old crates, torn sacks, dust. But by the table, tied to its leg, sits a boy. Eyes closed. Face dirty. Arms bruised. And Miller recognizes him instantly. Michael Turner. Carter shouts, "Michael! Michael!" But he doesn't react. He's half-conscious. Alive, but frighteningly weak. Ray rushes to him, licking his arm, whining softly. "Not just joy, a promise. I found you. I'm here." Miller kneels, freeing the boy's hands. Carter checks his pulse. It's faint but present. "He needs medics immediately," she says, voice shaky but steady. But the relief lasts exactly 5 seconds. Because the door behind them slams shut with a violent crash, and the sound of a metal latch sliding into place chills the air to ice. The teacher stands outside. His voice calm, almost gentle. "You shouldn't have followed me." The cabin seems to shrink in an instant, as if the walls are closing in. Miller rushes to the door, but it won't budge. Someone has slid a heavy metal bar across it from the outside. Far too solid to break with a shoulder. Carter, still leaning over Michael, lifts her head, her eyes blazing. "He locked us in. Miller, we're trapped with a child who can barely breathe." Ray stands at the door, growling so low the floorboards hum. He claws at the wood, then turns to Miller with a look that isn't anger but resolve. "Give the order, and I'll get you out." Outside, a slow step echoes. One. Then another. The teacher seems to savor every moment. His silhouette moves past the cracks in the boards, circling the cabin like a predator. "You don't understand," his voice calls, calm and cruel. "Michael was supposed to stay quiet. You ruined everything." Miller grits his teeth. "If he wanted us dead, he would have torched the place already." Carter answers, which means he's playing. Or planning something even worse. Ray suddenly goes still. He lowers himself, pressing an ear to the gap between two warped planks, listening. It's that special mode canine dogs enter when they can hear vibrations no human ever could. A heartbeat later, Ray snaps his head toward the back wall, not the door. A wall covered in moss, half-rotten, sagging with decay. Miller understands immediately. "Carter, hold Michael. Ray's showing us the exit." Carter lifts the boy into her arms. He barely stays conscious, his head dropping onto her shoulder. They reach the wall Ray indicated. The boards are rotted but still clinging on. Miller pulls, nothing. And outside, a footstep lands far too close. The teacher stops right behind that wall. Only a thin skin of wood separates him from Miller. The silence is so sharp they can hear his breathing. "You shouldn't have taken him." His voice is quiet, almost tender, and that softness is what makes it terrifying. "He was mine to fix." Carter holds Michael tighter. Ray begins to growl, deep and rolling, like a storm gathering strength. The teacher leans against the wall. His shadow spills through the crack. The boy still won't talk, but he will. They all do eventually. Miller's fingers tighten on the grip of his pistol until it cracks. He whispers, "Ray, step back." The dog retreats, he knows something loud is coming. Miller steps back and slams his boot into the rotten wall. Wood snaps. A sliver of daylight pierces through. Carter shields Michael with her body. Outside, the teacher makes a startled sound. He hadn't expected them to break out there. That hesitation gives Miller the second he needs to kick again. The wall gives way. First a narrow split, then Ray, furious and desperate, charges through the opening, bursting into the open air. Miller drags Carter and Michael out behind him. The air outside feels icy, maybe from adrenaline, maybe from fear. Ray is already outside, hackles raised. He scans for the teacher. But the man isn't by the wall. He's gone. Melted into the woods. Carter murmurs, he's close. He didn't run far. Miller answers, yeah. He's watching. He always watches. The forest around them feels like a dark maze. Any shadow could hide a man. Any sound could be a trap. Yet Ray pulls forward again, catching a fresh scent. Michael's eyes flicker open for a second. He whispers, barely audible, he has something else, another place, then he slips back into half-consciousness. These aren't just frightened words, they're a warning. The cabin wasn't the main site. Miller lifts Michael into his arms. We're getting him out. Carter, cover us. Ray, lead. They move through the forest quickly but quietly. Ray runs ahead, then stops abruptly, tail up, ears locked forward. On the ground, fresh tracks. Large. A man's. And beside them, drag marks from a crate or a box. The teacher was carrying something. Carter whispers, what is he carrying? Miller answers darkly, something he refuses to leave behind. Ray picks up the trail again, but now with caution. Slow. Deliberate. He knows a trap is possible. Through the trees appears an old footbridge over a stream, rotted, but still standing. Ray heads toward it. But Miller grabs Ray's collar just in time. Across the planks is a tripwire. Thin. Almost invisible. Carter breathes, he set this up. He was waiting. Miller, no. He was preparing to take Michael somewhere else. Ray growls, confirming the trail goes over the bridge, but the route is deadly. Miller searches for another way. They circle the stream, hopping across slick stones. Carter slips, but Ray bumps her upright with his nose, steadying her. On the far bank, the soil is soft and wet. A deep groove cuts through it, the crate was dragged this way. Ray follows the line, then freezes, tail straight. He stares left, into thick brush. Something glints inside. Metal? A blade? Or, something worse? Miller lifts the flashlight. It's a cage. A small steel cage. New. Clean. And inside, a stuffed bear. Michael's bear. The one he had the day he disappeared. Carter whispers, he moved Michael's things. He was preparing another location. A backup. Miller, and we still don't know where it is. Ray circles the cage, breathing deeply. The fur along his spine rises. He isn't tracking a scent now, he's sensing something dark. Then Ray jerks his head up, fixing Miller with a sharp, demanding stare. He's close. A scream splits the woods. Sudden. Male. Then the clang of metal hitting the ground. Ray bolts instantly, vanishing between the trees before Miller can shout. He's chosen his direction. Danger is there. Miller yells, Ray, wait. But the dog is gone. Miller sprints after him, Carter close behind. The forest becomes a storm, branches whipping their faces, leaves cracking underfoot, lungs burning. But Ray is still faster. And then Ray stops before a low structure sunk into the earth. Not a shed. A hatch. Fresh soil surrounds it. Tracks. A broken branch. And dark stains. Carter crouches, touches one. Blood. Fresh. Miller mutters, did he injure himself? Or someone else? Ray growls, the kind of growl that means inside is something we're not ready for. A new padlock hangs from the hatch. Strong. Recently added. And beside it, marks from inside, as if someone tried to force their way out but failed. Carter whispers, Miller, what if there's another child? The thought slices the air open. Miller meets Ray's eyes. Show me. Ray sniffs the lock, the dirt, the hinges. Then returns to the padlock and freezes, pointing, he's inside. Miller pulls out the crowbar they used back at the school basement. One strike, the lock cracks. Another, it snaps. The hatch groans open. A wave of stale air rises. Damp cloth. Mold. And fear. Ray dives in immediately, swallowed by the darkness. Miller shines the flashlight and climbs down. Carter stays above with Michael. If anything moves, shout. Inside is a narrow bunker-like corridor. Concrete walls, uneven and wet. And everywhere, things. Children's things. A t-shirt. Small boots. A backpack with faded patches. Miller recognizes them, belongings of the missing children from recent years. The teacher wasn't just a kidnapper. He was a serial predator. Ray stands at a door at the end of the corridor, whining softly, a sound of pain, but not his own. The sound of a dog sensing human suffering. Miller approaches. Behind the door is a dark room. He opens it. The flashlight catches a figure curled in a corner. A child. A girl. About 7 years old. Thin. Pale. Hair tangled. Knees tucked to her chest, face hidden in her hands. Alive. Barely. Miller whispers, "We found her, we found another one," but Ray suddenly growls sharply and turns toward the entrance, toward the darkness. The teacher has returned. And now he knows they've uncovered everything. Dawn is barely pushing the night away, and the city is still holding its breath after everything that happened in the school's basement. Sergeant Miller stands at the station's open door, watching Ray. The dog hasn't slept at all, just pacing in tight circles, as if chasing a scent that keeps slipping from him. He behaves like this only in the hardest cases. Only when the story isn't over. Miller feels the same. Arresting Michael Turner was a turning point, not the conclusion. Too many loose ends. Too sharp a reaction from Ray. Too calm a face on Turner as they led him to the car, as if he knew they hadn't found everything, that something important had slipped past them. When Miller returns to his office, he finds a folder on his desk, the one Lauren Carter brought in during the night. He had only managed to open it, not read it. Now he pulls the documents out slowly and realizes, Turner isn't just a teacher who fell under suspicion. He's a man with a past someone tried very hard to erase. Lauren appears in the doorway without knocking, exhausted, red-eyed, but composed. One look at Miller tells her he has reached the same conclusion she did. He never worked at his previous school, she says. He wasn't even on the staff list. Miller raises his eyes. His personnel file is fake? Lauren nods. Not just fake. Whoever wrote it knows how to forge government documents. And knows it extremely well. Ray lifts his head and crawls out from under the desk, sensing the shift in tension. His tail sinks low, a warning sign. Lauren notices it first. He feels something again. Miller silently straps on his vest. They head back to the school, not because they want to, but because Ray leaves them no choice. He settles by the door of the car as if he knows the route better than any of them. Heavy clouds sag above the neighborhood, as if the weather itself is reacting to the investigation. On the school grounds, Ray doesn't lead them to the basement, but to the old workshop behind the building. A place they didn't even look at during the night. The workshop looks abandoned, dusty windows, a crooked door, traces of old tools scattered around. But Ray freezes in front of the lock and growls. Miller lifts a hand to stop Lauren. "Wait." He says someone was here. And recently. Lauren adds quietly, or someone left something. When Miller breaks the lock, Ray charges in first, and instantly changes behavior. Instead of growling, he searches. Urgently. Fast. As if every minute is a loss. Dust rises around him as he drags out an old crate, paws through debris, and finally stops at a hatch hidden beneath a wooden table. The hatch is small, with a rusted handle. Darkness breathes up from it, damp soil and cold moisture. "Damn," Miller mutters. "How did we miss this last night?" Lauren stares down. "Because Turner didn't want us to find it last night." Climbing down, they enter a small cellar, not as deep as the one where the missing boy was found. But the atmosphere here is different. Notes cover the walls, as if someone had been studying children's behavior or tracking schedules. In the center stands a metal cabinet. Locked. Heavy. When Miller opens it, the first thing he sees is stacks of school logs and class lists from various years. But Lauren notices something else, an envelope at the very bottom. Marked, "To Sergeant Miller." Inside is a single sheet. And it's immediately clear Turner wrote it himself. "You're looking in the wrong place. You're looking at the wrong thing. Your dog senses the truth better than you do. If he brought you here, that means he already knows it isn't over." Signed, Michael Turner. The worst part is the date, today. Hours after Turner had already been taken into custody. Miller and Lauren exchange a look. Impossible. Or, all too possible, if Turner wasn't acting alone. If someone came here after the arrest. If someone knew Ray would return. Suddenly Ray lifts his head and bolts toward the stairs, barking into emptiness, but they both know, Ray never barks without reason. "He smelled someone," Miller says. "Whoever it was, they were here a minute ago." They rush outside, but the area behind the workshop is empty. Only wind stirs the leaves. A car's tail flashes behind the corner. Lauren runs forward, but Miller grabs her arm. "Don't chase. He wants us to chase. Whoever this is, he knows every step we'll take." Back at the station they demand Turner for questioning. But when Miller enters the room, he freezes. The chair is empty. A cold wave rolls through him. Where is he? How did he get out? The duty officer pales. He said his lawyer arrived. I checked the documents. They were real. Lauren whispers, he didn't escape. They took him. Ray whines softly, sensing it, the hunt has begun again, and now it's far more dangerous. They review the camera footage, but the person who came for Turner wore a hood and mask. Yet one detail makes Miller stiffen, a bracelet with a metal plate on the wrist. The same one he saw yesterday, in a photo from Turner's previous workplace. It's him, the second one, Miller says. The one we haven't found. Lauren exhales, so Turner wasn't the one leading this. He was following orders. Miller nods. And that second man, he's the organizer. That evening Ray starts acting strange again, pacing from the door to the window, mapping a route only he can see. When Miller opens a city map, Ray presses a paw onto one district, the old residential sector on the outskirts. Lauren looks at Miller. You seriously want to go there at night? He answers instantly, I want to go there now. Ray stands by the door, ready. The house they arrive at is dark. No signs of life. But Ray heads straight to the backyard, to a shed. Inside, old crates, tools, trash. And a fresh shoe print in the dust. One. Not theirs. Miller lifts the lid of an old trunk. Inside are a cassette player and headphones. On the player, a note, play me. The boy trusts dogs. Let him hear the truth. Lauren knows it's a trap. But Miller presses play, and Turner's voice fills the room. Calm. Too calm. You found only a piece. He's still searching. He's still near. And he'll return for what he left behind. Ray suddenly tears toward the back wall of the shed, digging furiously. Dirt flies in all directions. When it clears, Miller sees a metal door in the ground. Another underground passage. Deeper. Older. Built long ago. In the flashlight beam the walls show marks, scratches, height lines, carvings. This isn't a storage space. It's a preparation site. At the end of the passage is a room. On the floor lies a notebook with a hard cover. Inside, school plans, children's schedules, route maps. But the worst is the section titled, Next Targets. First on the list, the boy they found. Second, another child. Third, the homeroom teacher who tried to report Turner's strange behavior. The name is crossed out with a thick line. And at the end of the list, Lauren Carter. Lauren sets the notebook down slowly. He watched me? This whole time? Ray growls softly, stepping between her and the door, shielding her. Miller lifts his gaze and notices another detail, a date written in chalk on the wall, tomorrow. They plan to act tomorrow, Miller says. But now that we interfered, the plan has changed. Ray bolts toward the tunnel exit and barks. He says someone is up there. They climb up, but again they're too late. The shed door slams, and for a second they see only a fleeing silhouette. Catching him is impossible. The district is a maze of private houses. But Ray tries, running until Miller calls him back. Ray stops, but turns his head toward the street, memorizing the scent. From now on, it's his target. On the way back Lauren is silent, fists clenched. She understands, now she is part of their plan. They want to involve her, or use her. And if Turner isn't the leader, he was free to finish what he started. Miller takes her hand. You're under protection. And Ray knows you're on the list now. He won't leave you for a second. Ray gives a quiet bark, confirming it. At the station they rebuild the investigation board. They're no longer hunting a teacher, but an entire group. And Ray grows restless, pacing, whining softly, staring at the door. He's not just searching. He's warning us, Miller says. At that moment Lauren's phone lights up. A message from an unknown number, you looked good in the subway today. The camera loved you. Lauren goes pale. They're watching me. Right now. Miller grabs the phone, but the sender is already gone, number disconnected. Ray jumps onto the windowsill, staring at the roof across the street, alert, aggressive. Miller raises binoculars, and sees movement. Sniper position. They're trying to scare us. But when SWAT reaches the roof, it's empty. Only footprints, and a single pristine bullet left behind. A letter T engraved on it. They understand, this is a game. And the one setting the rules isn't Turner, but the second man. The one Ray hasn't found yet, but already senses. Late at night Miller sits beside Ray and murmurs, we didn't catch them today. But tomorrow, we go after them. I know you already smell their trail. Ray lifts his head, eyes locked on Miller's. No hesitation in them. Lauren joins them, holding the notebook they found underground. In the 5th chapter, we'll learn who the second man is. The real mastermind. Miller nods. And why they chose the children. Why they chose the school. Why they chose us. Ray lies at their feet but doesn't sleep, his ears twitch every few seconds. Listening to the night. Waiting for footsteps. Tomorrow everything changes, they feel it in the air. And if Ray is right, the ending won't just be dangerous. It will be personal. Because now the hunt goes both ways. Morning comes far too quickly, as if the city simply skipped dawn and threw Miller and Lauren straight into a cold, watchful light. Ray hasn't slept all night. He paced from corner to corner, as if hearing something no one else could. And now, as Miller fastens his vest, Ray is already standing by the door. Ready. The station feels heavy, not only because of Turner's escape, but because this is the first time they're dealing with someone who stays a step ahead. Yet Ray paces across the office like he knows one thing for certain: today it ends. Whether that's good or bad, that's another question. Lauren stands by the window, gripping that damned notebook. It's all here: routes, notes, targets. But you know what's missing? Miller raises his eyes. What? The real reason. Why they need all this. At that moment Ray jerks his head up and growls. Not a warning, a furious, deep sound, like he's finally caught the scent he'd been chasing for days. He bolts to the door, scratching at it, then glances back at Miller. Faster. Miller grabs the radio and nods at Lauren. It's him. The second one. He's close, or he left a trail. And Ray has it. They rush to the car, and Ray leaps inside as if this is a race against time. Ray leads them to an industrial zone, toward an old factory that's been abandoned for years. A place missing from every document, yet it looks strangely guarded. One entrance has a camera, new, clean, and working. When Miller looks up, the camera shifts toward him. Too smoothly. Too deliberately. For a moment, it almost feels like it nodded. Lauren whispers, "They were expecting us." Inside, the factory is empty. But Ray moves with certainty, never hesitating. Each step is precise, fast, like he's following an invisible trail. Miller keeps his weapon raised, Lauren covers him. They follow a long corridor to the central hall, and hear a sound. Quiet. Even. A sound Miller heard during Turner's interrogation, his breathing pattern. Calm. Measured. Unnatural. In the middle of the hall sits Michael Turner. No handcuffs. Not restrained. He lifts his head and smiles. Took you long enough. But Ray told me you'd come. Ray growls so fiercely that Lauren instinctively steps back. Miller takes a step forward. Who helped you escape? Where is he? Turner tilts his head slightly. He's here. Always here. You just never saw him. He points into the darkness behind a pillar. A man steps out of the shadows. Tall, thin, wearing a work jumpsuit. On his wrist, the same metal-tagged bracelet Miller saw on the footage. His face is pale, but his eyes, empty. Cold. Devoid of anything human. Lauren barely whispers, "Who is that?" Turner answers for him, "The one who found me. The one who understood that children are the truest witnesses. The purest. The most receptive." The man lifts his hand slowly, as if showing he means no harm. But Ray drops low to the floor, growling, meaning the threat is absolute. Miller steps forward. "Tell me your name." The man smiles, the kind of smile that has never once been sincere. "I don't have one. Call me whatever you want." Turner calls me the curator. Turner rises from the chair. "We never meant harm. We wanted to choose the ones who could be corrected, guided." Lauren snaps her head up. "You kidnapped children and locked them in a basement." Turner answers calmly, "They were safe." Ray bursts forward, so fast the squeal of rubber on concrete slices the air. He lunges at the curator, but the man pulls something from behind his back and dodges. A knife? No, a stun gun. The shock hits Ray and he collapses onto his side, but he immediately tries to get up. He trembles, but growls, anger overpowering pain. Miller shouts, "Ray, fall back." But Ray doesn't listen, his instinct to protect is stronger than any command. The curator bolts deeper into the factory. Miller chases him. Lauren stays with Ray, trying to help him rise. "Stay with me, boy, stay." Miller runs along the platform, hearing footsteps ahead. The man is fast, knows the factory like a maze. But Miller is faster, because Ray already gave him the most important thing, the scent. They reach the roof. Wind slams into them. The curator stands at the edge, holding onto a rusted pipe. "You'll never catch me," he says calmly. "You're too slow." Miller raises his weapon. "This ends now." But the man doesn't run. He smiles. "Ends? No. The end is where you'll never see it coming." He points down. Miller looks. 2 vans sit in the courtyard. Black. Unmarked. And at that moment Lauren shouts through the radio, "Miller! Get off the roof! It's a trap! He distracted you. They're already moving." Miller understands. They were never hunting one man. This is a network. And someone is seconds away from taking every child who was on their target list yesterday. Miller sprints toward the stairs, leaving the curator on the roof, but the man doesn't flee, he simply sits, swaying slightly, satisfied. "You're too late. Even Ray won't stop this." But Ray is already on his feet. He shoots down the factory corridor like a whirlwind. He hears engines. He hears van doors. He hears Lauren shouting, "Ray, here! Faster!" Outside, one van is already turning. The other, speeding toward the back gate. Ray chooses the first, the one where he hears banging, screaming, children's voices. He darts under the wheels, forcing the driver to slam the brakes. Tires screech, Ray barely slips aside, but jumps up instantly, launching himself at the driver's door. The driver tries to shake him off, but Ray clamps onto his sleeve and pulls, ripping fabric. Miller rushes in, tackling the driver. "Hands where I can see them. Now!" Lauren runs toward the second van, but it has already turned around and is accelerating across the lot. Ray tears free from Miller and bolts after it like a projectile. And then Ray does the impossible, he leaps. High. Higher than he ever has. He clamps onto the rear door, hanging from it with all his weight. The van swerves, the driver panicking. Ray holds on with everything he has. The vehicle races toward the open gate. Another second, and they'll be gone. Miller sees it happening, raises his weapon, but he can't shoot. Ray is hanging right on the door. One wrong shot, and, hold on, Ray. Hold on. The van is almost gone, but Ray makes one last desperate move. He climbs higher and bites through the brake light wiring. Sparks. A short. The driver loses control. The van spins and smashes into a concrete block. The doors fly open, Ray tumbles onto the ground, rolls, but gets up. He's still standing. Miller reaches the van first, breaks the door open. Inside, two children, terrified but alive. He pulls them out and holds them close. Lauren runs up, tears in her eyes from relief. But her gaze immediately drops to Ray. He's standing on three legs. The fourth he can't place on the ground. His breathing is heavy. Lauren rushes to him. "Ray? God, you're a hero?" Miller kneels beside him, stroking his head. "We did this because of you, boy. Only because of you." Police flood the area. The vans are blocked. The children are safe. But the factory roof, empty. The curator is gone. The radio crackles. Target escaped. Repeat, escaped. Miller lifts Ray into his arms. He's looking for another day. Another chance. But we'll be ready. Ray presses against his chest, breathing softly. Later, when the children are safe, when Turner is back in custody, when the factory is sealed off, Lauren stands beside Miller, watching the sunset. "Do you think the curator will come back?" Miller looks toward the street. "People like him always do. But now we have Ray. And Ray has his scent." Ray lies at Lauren's feet, bandaged and treated. He watches them, tired, but calm. He knows the mission is done. Lauren bends down and strokes his cheek. "You saved those kids. You stopped their plan. You're the best protector, Ray." Miller sits beside him and whispers, "And this is only the beginning, buddy. If he returns, we'll be waiting. All three of us." Ray closes his eyes, but his ears still twitch. He listens to the city. He knows someone out there slipped away today. But he also knows, next time he won't. Because this is no longer just an investigation. It's his case. His trail. His enemy. The sun sinks behind the horizon. The city hums as if nothing happened. But the three of them, Miller, Lauren, and Ray, stand at the edge of the street, in the shadow of the factory that hides children no more. And in the silence, Ray lifts his head, sniffs the air, and growls quietly. Miller looks toward the horizon. "Yeah. I feel it too. He's close. The ending is not a period. The ending is a promise. If the curator returns, Ray is already ready.